space, and it certainly can. And we have identified improvements through our 10-year capital works forecast accordingly. So that will be identified through the 10-year plan that will follow. I believe that presentation is into November, but so to say we have, yes, we certainly have looked at our opportunities and we've advanced those opportunities. And similarly, this is happening in the West End as well, Your Worship.
That's great. Thank you very much. I think I saw Councillor Kinney, your card up.
Thank you, Worship, and I'll try and be as brief because I know other members want to talk. First off, transit, a couple slides back. When we do the RFP for it, is there going to be any thought process to the transit needs of the Sunnydale Trail build out? That's number one, Kevin. Number two is the playground at Town Hall. Is our AAC committee going to be able to take a boo at your recommendation for playthings to make it accessible? And Your Worship, I'll leave it with 2 questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And just to mention, I saw our clerk with her card up. I think we've lost our streaming, but we're still recording. Dina?
We've lost our stream. We didn't intend this meeting to go as long as it has, and it automatically ended. So what I'm going to do is start recording this meeting through our Zoom. So you'll just hear a little recording right now, and then we will post this after.
So does that mean we just missed the last 5 to 8 minutes of?
Yes, we lost a few minutes. So I'll record this right now.
Okay, I'm going to wait for you to start recording, and then I'm going to ask that Kevin just briefly go over the question with regard to the East End and what you're looking at, because that is really important to the people in that area, and I think it's important that it be part of the record.
Absolutely. Just one moment.
Recording in progress.
And we're ready to go.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Kinney, we will come back to you, but we unfortunately did lose our recording there. And live stream. So Kevin, the question was asked with regard to the East End park opportunities, keeping our trails clean, and or path to the beach. If you can just recap quickly what was missed in the previous conversation.
Sure, certainly, Madam Mayor. In terms of park planning, as I said, we've reached out to Ontario Parks and extended I guess an expression of interest to partner with Ontario Parks to consider playground infrastructure in the East End, namely perhaps along Allenwood Beach area, Eastdale, or wherever a suitable location might be. And that's been directed through John Fisher's office and I believe through to park planning. So we're hopeful that we'll have some positive feedback from them on that regard. We've also looked at, and we've actually completed a facility fit plan to confirm whether a park and infrastructure could work on the existing town-owned lands at the corner of River Road East and Albert Street, I believe. And so that design, as we engaged a landscape architect, has confirmed that there is opportunity on that block of land as well, should council accept that parcel as parkland. And that is actually going to be identified through the 10-year capital works program. So we have those 2 initiatives underway for the East End, and we're all, like I said earlier, we're also looking at exploring options in the West End as well, as we do certainly acknowledge there's deficient park space and playground amenities in the far West End too.
Okay, thank you, Kevin, and we'll go to you, Councillor Kinney, for your question.
Thank you, Your Worship, and you're absolutely right. The information shared by Kevin on the last 2 points is very important for our community and good news. Again, I'll make it quick with 2 questions. The first one is from Transit, whether or not the RFP that we're putting together would include some thought process in the Sunnydale build out when that happens, and that seems to be coming relatively soon down the pipe. And also with the new installation of playground equipment at Town Hall, whether or not our accessibility committee would be privy to some of that design for their expertise. Thank you.
Okay, Kevin.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Kinney. Question number 2, absolutely. We'll engage the Accessibility Advisory Committee and seek input on that design for sure. And relative to the Sunnydale Trails development and the transit operations contract, there's going to be enough flexibility in that, in the terms of reference, for the future operator to account for not only a third route, which we've confirmed through our transit study that we anticipate one. Once we start to see occupation within Sunnydale Trails, obviously there's still a need and demand, and I keep saying New England Village, but Elm or Georgian Sands development in the east as well. So there is demand not only from the east, but also future demand we anticipate, obviously, from Sunnydale Trails. So the terms of reference will reflect route additions. It will reflect microtransit or on-demand transit in case we deviate from the fixed conventional route and then explore other demand responsive options. So that will all be part of the contract. So we have flexibility when we expand routes, or if we modify some of our fixed routes to more of a demand responsive, to allow a little more flexibility to the east and maybe the southeast as well, as we do have demands from the Park Ridge communities in the southeast.
Thank you, Kevin. Councillor Belanger?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, Kevin, could I just get a little bit of clarification on River Road West widening? Clearly where we've already completed, it's a huge benefit to the community. And I don't know if you indicated that you were hopeful that we would have the relocations done by the fall of this year or into next year. I know we had $800,000 in the budget last year for utility relocation, and now $795 for next year. But obviously there's lots of us would like us to get the actual road work underway as soon as possible. So do you expect that that we will be a full year prior to doing any significant road work?
Currently, just through you, Mayor Byfolchi, to Councillor Belanger. So we always anticipated a 2-year utility relocation program, which we were hopeful to initiate it last year, but that did not occur. So what you're seeing is year 1 of 2, that being the pole installations, relocations, and then next year being the transfer of the lines from Bell and Rogers onto the new pole line. So we always anticipated the 2 years, and construction, and certainly this will depend on council and our treasurer for sure. It is a significant cost, that next phase from Veterans Way to Blueberry Trails, as you know, and at this point I think some of the estimates are upwards of $13 million or so. And as such, we have indicated historically we typically wait for funding of some sort to advance these. A large part of it is development charge recoverable. However, we also commit to funding, but if it were up to me, certainly we would follow immediately after the Bell and Rogers relocation. But at this point, it's 2023, I believe, is how we've identified it in the 4 and 10 year capital works forecast for the actual road tender.
Great, thank you. Councillor Foster?
Thank you, Your Worship. Again, and we've seen this throughout the presentation, I certainly want to compliment staff on a balanced approach to things. With public works, and it's been, the term half pie was used for several years for the amount of money that goes into public works, but it is certainly nice to see that it's not just the big, these huge projects, but the parks are on the agenda again. And I'm quite proud of that as a council, that we focus on this. And my first question was going to be similar to yours, Your Worship. We do have to look at the east end and the west end for going ahead, and Kevin's already answered that, so I don't need anything on that. But the other piece too is the bus shelters, and this, as we all know, was something that former Mayor Patterson was a huge advocate of, and COVID has knocked our transit system for a loop. People are going back into it. It's continued to run the entire time, which is great. And so it is an important piece of infrastructure for the town. When we talk about 2 new bus shelters, and the fact that now we're in this link system, so people can use it not just to get around town, but can go to either Collingwood, Stayner, or Barrie. I do want to just ask, and I have talked to Kevin about this before, that we find ways to, or look for opportunities to put bike racks near the bus shelters, because people may not want to take their bikes, say, into Barrie, but they want to ride to the hub here. I know that the vehicles are modified so they can take bikes on the front, but just if we're looking at new bus shelters, that should probably remain on the agenda as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kevin?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to Councillor Foster. Certainly, that's part of our new standard, Councillor. We're retrofitting, as you know, some of the old ones with bike racks now, but our new standard, we construct an oversized pad that will accommodate a bicycle ring, and also we look to accommodate a waste collection bin at that location as well, because we do see certainly garbage being left within the transit shelter, and we're hopeful that having a bin immediately beside the shelter, it'll help some of those limited folks to walk a few feet and put it in the garbage.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for Kevin? Okay, thanks, Kevin. And Jocelyn, are you looking to have the final word here?
Thank you, Your Worship. So yes, this concludes the Draft 122 budget presentations, and my thanks to all of the presenters today. And I think at this point, I'll just highlight that our next council meeting for budget would be scheduled for November 10th. It's a public meeting at 7 p.m. We will bring the proposed 22 rates and fees schedule forward at that time, as well as the draft 2 budget.
Okay,
thank you,
great.
Your Worship.
Thank you, and thank all the department heads today. If I could have a mover and seconder for the motion, please. Councillor Kinney and Councillor Foster, that Committee of the Whole of Council as Budget Committee recommend to Council that it receive the Treasurer's supplementary report on the first draft of the 2022 operating and capital budget for information and discussion, and further that Committee of the Whole of Council as Budget Committee recommend to Council that it receive the Department Program Draft 1 budget presentations for information and discussion. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. And if I can have a mover and seconder to go into closed session, please. Councillor Watson, Councillor Kinney, resolved that pursuant to section 239(2)(a) and (d) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, the next portion of the October 21st, 2021 Committee of the Whole budget meeting will move into closed session to discuss the security of the property of the municipality or local board and labor relations or employee negotiations. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And Dina, if you can
You have, your worship.
Okay, thank you, Dina. If I can have a mover and seconder for item 5.1, please. Councillor Kinney, Councillor Foster. The Committee of the Whole confirm the direction provided in closed session to the manager of beachfront properties, fleet and purchasing pertaining to a beachfront lease. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Mover and seconder for item 5.2, please. Councillor Kinney, Deputy Mayor Bray. The Committee of the Whole confirm the direction provided in closed session to the manager of beachfront properties, fleet and purchasing pertaining to a beachfront lease. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And a mover and seconder for 5.3, please. Councillor Foster and Deputy Mayor Bray. The Committee of the Whole confirm the direction provided in closed session to the Director of Library Services pertaining to staffing matters. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And thank you, everyone. We are now adjourned. Have a great afternoon.